Hi everybody, it's Bill Gilliland here with the first in a series on business success basics. So I need to give you the overall of what I believe creates success in a business. And it's built in really 5 areas. The first area that we start out, the base of it all, is money. Okay? Then we get into time. And that's both your time and your people's time. And then we got to build a team. And throughout the whole process, we have to be building systems for each of these areas, for money, team, and time. And it's all sort of enclosed or encircled by our mindset. We really have to have a success mindset. So, today we're going to talk more about money mastery. So, why don't more people actually know what's going on in their business? I see all the time, I think the bigger problems are that, number one, I see businesses that are running their business on their bank balance. They're making decisions on the fly, on feelings instead of on facts. And I think some of them actually feel like a fraud because they don't actually know what's going on in their business. So what happens if you get this right? If you get it right, you have control. You make logical decisions. And you're actually speaking in the language of business because the numbers and the money is actually our language of business. So let's deal with a couple areas. I'm going to give you some tools right now that I think you need to have in your quiver to be able to use to get control of the money in your business. So the first area of money mastery that we need to get a hold of is cash. We need to get a hold of cash flow. So one of the first things you need to understand in your business is where does the money come from and where it's going. We call that sources of money and uses of money. So that's the first thing you need to get a hold of. The second thing you need to get a hold of is the timing of money. And there's something called a cash gap that what I see most businesses getting into a problem with the cash gap, where if this is a timeline through here, where we actually, let's say right here, we would provide services. So in other words, we would have to buy materials, we would have to pay our people. And we might not get paid until 30, 60, 90 days later. So we have what we call a negative cash gap. And that's one of the bigger problems that we see in small businesses, this negative cash gap. And obviously what we're doing here is move our collections this way and move our payments this way to get them to more match up. You know, one of the better models that I've ever known about in history was the old Dell model, where you actually paid for your computer before they actually ordered the parts and built your computer, and then it was sent to your house. So we want to work on our cash gap. And the third area that we want to work on in cash is actually getting out ahead of it, actually becoming proactive with our cash as opposed to being reactive. So we want to do what's called a cash flow forecast. And what I find is most people are pretty good at understanding what their expenses are because they get their bills every month, and so they know their monthly bills every month, but they don't necessarily forecast when the cash is going to show up. So we actually, in Action, have a cash flow forecasting tool, which if you'd like to have, it's out on my blog site. You can go out there and download it, where you can begin to get a weekly, by the way, you ought to do this weekly, have a weekly cash flow forecast so that you know exactly where your money's coming from, when it's going to show up, and where it's going to go. So the second thing we need to know about money mastery is what is our break even? Actually, at what time of the day or what time of the week do we actually start making money? It's sort of like if you're an employee and you have to work till around May before you actually get to keep any of the money. The rest of the time, the first 5 months of the year are pretty much for the government. So what is break even and how do we calculate it? So break even equals your fixed cost over 1 minus your variable costs as a percentage. So what are fixed costs and what are variable costs? Fixed costs are costs you're going to have whether or not you open the door of your business on the day. So it's going to be things like the rent, it's going to be the utilities, it's going to be maybe some of your salaries, maybe your insurances. All those kinds of things are going to be fixed costs. What's a variable cost? A variable cost would be a cost that you would have only if you sold an item. So it would be cost of goods sold, like the materials you might have to buy, or the direct labor that would go into building or making or producing or selling the products that you have. Commission on sales would be a variable cost. Let's say you paid a 10% commission on what you sold. That would be variable. It would vary. You would only have the cost if you sold the item. So let me give you an example of how this formula works. So let's say that you add up all your costs and it's $100,000. So your fixed costs are going to be $100,000. And let's say that you look at your variable costs and you say, okay, they're going to come out to 25 cents on the dollar, or 25% of every dollar that we sell is going to be variable. So our formula would be 1 minus 0.25 or 1 minus 0.7, or 100,000 divided by 0.75. Which actually equals 133,333. It just keeps going. So 133,333. So that's how you would calculate your break even. So we know that we need to sell 133,000 just to cover our costs. Now we don't want to just cover costs. Obviously we want to make our profit. But we need to know our break even so that we know every day how much we need to sell to cover our break even. So the third piece of money mastery that we're going to look at today is pricing and the effect that that can have on your business. And I want to talk specifically about the impact of either discounting or raising your prices. And I want to show you why I think raising your prices is better than discounting, if it wasn't obvious. So if you have an item that we sell for $100 and it costs you $80, then you make $20. But if you discount it 10%, then what it looks like is this. Still cost you $80, but you only make $10. So you think you're cutting your prices 10%. What you're actually doing is cutting your profit in half. You're losing 50% by discounting in this particular model. And it works like that with other margins and all that. Now, what happens on the other hand? If we raise our price 10%, then it's still, so we're charging $110. It still costs us $80. We make $30. So we could actually lose a third of our business before it would impact our profitability. So it's usually a good idea in selected areas to figure out where you can raise your price. So we've covered cash, we've covered break even, and we've covered pricing. I want to tell you a quick story about one of my clients. I had a client who grew up in a family of brothers. She has 3 brothers. And so I want to tell you about one of my clients. She grew up in a family of 3 brothers, and for whatever reason in that family, the culture was that they would teach the boys in the family finance and math and marketing and all the things that had to do with business. And in her case, she never got the financial piece because she was a girl or a woman. And you can debate the pros and cons of all that and the cultural implications. The fact of the matter is she just never got it. So what happened was, once she understood her pricing, once she understood her cash gap, once she understood her break even, then we were able to really grow the business. As she got control of the numbers, she got control of her business. So she was able to make good financial decisions and to be more proactive. So what I'd like to know now is, what did you find most useful in this video? There should be a place down below here where you can put in your comments. I'd love to know what you found most useful and the thing that you're going to be able to put into your business. Now, if you'd like help implementing some of these things or other money mastery issues that are going to come up in your business, then what you need to do is set up a 10-minute chat with me. Now, you can either call me at 828-348-1787, or you can, right on this website, there'll be a button that you can click. There'll be a button that you can click to have a 10-minute chat with me. And what we'll do in that 10-minute chat is we'll find out what's possible for you in your business. We'll find out where you are. We'll find out the obstacles and the challenges between where you are and where you want to go. And we'll come up with a mini plan. At that point, if it's a good fit for us to talk further, I'll tell you that. If it's a bad fit, I'm going to tell you that as well. And I'll tell you where to go. But if it's a good fit, then we're wanting to set up a little bit longer of a strategy session to talk specifically about your business and how to build it. So what you need to do now is go ahead and book yourself in for that 10-minute chat with me. I really, really look forward to talking to you soon.